story back in the day in the 40s, and they had the party that they had set up ahead of time, which was going to be at this nightclub called the Coconut Grove nightclub. And they, it's like the picture of the 40s, this big ballroom dance club, very similar to the one we're sitting below upstairs, the Crystal Ballroom in Boston, called the Coconut Grove. And the plan was BC beats Holy Cross. We have a victory party at the Coconut Grove. So the people who plan things plan that accordingly. And Holy Cross kicked the crap out of BC that day. And if you look up this story on Google, it'll blow your mind. It's nuts. But because BC lost, they called the Coconut Grove and said, we're going to cancel our party, we're not going to have it anymore. And of course, Holy Cross is like, we'll take those reservations. And the nightclub, went on, and people like my grandmother and my grandfather, who were newlyweds, did not go to that party. They did not have children at the time. Their oldest daughter, Donna, who's Tracy, Kelly, and Dan and Wendy's mother, who's no longer with us, wasn't born yet. And my dad was the middle child, Betty was the youngest, and they didn't go to the Coconut Grove. They didn't go to the party because there was no party. BC lost, Holy Cross won. Move on with your life. That night, there was a fire at the Coconut Grove Hotel, and this is all true. I gotta make sure I get the number right. 492 people died in that fire. Yeah, in that fire at the Coconut Grove. It's second biggest fire in the history of either nightclubs or people in one place. Chicago's number one. Timmy, you can back me up on that. I think it was like 500 something, like a couple more. Anyways, it's an awful, tragic event. The point is that I bring it and share it with you is that I like to think I'm standing here, and he was here for 73 years because BC lost. And Holy Cross won, and it's awful that 492 people perished that night. It affected generations and families and around, but luckily my father and my family wasn't affected by that, and it's just mind-boggling. And my dad wanted to make sure that I knew that. And with that said, the fire exits are back there. My dad was a cop in a small town called Scituate, Mass. For all of us Oregonians out here, Scituate was basically like Manzanita of am I saying that's right? Yeah. Okay, anybody who knows both places, sort of like almost like Pacific City, but without the big rock. And yeah, man, you've heard a couple stories about the palace. His best friend Tommy Walsh, one of the gentlemen who gave a video. He was the record producer, concert promoter, and he was friends with Fleetwood Mac and Aerosmith and all these different people, and they would come to this party. And my dad's other best friend, Mike Loyal, was the bartender at the hip bar, and then my dad's a cop. And between the three of them, it was a pretty power trio as far as the party scene in the early to mid 70s in Scituate, Mass. And to this day, I will meet people that will tell me their version of being at that story or those parties, and it's something out of a VH1 Behind the Music kind of thing. It's pretty cool. He got to see the Traveling Wilburys, George Harrison, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison. Thank you. Thank you. Bob Dylan, and they all wore masks, and they had mustaches and glasses, and Tommy knew about it, and he goes, Mike, come on, we're going to go to this church in Weymouth or Marshfield, and we're going to go see this band, and don't tell anyone, but it's George Harrison of the Beatles, and it's Tom Petty, and Bob Dylan, and then the Roy freaking Orbison, and then this band called the Traveling Wilburys, and it's, again, that was one of those stories where I was kind of like, Dad, sure. And then hanging out with Tom Walsh and Mike McLaughlin, they're like, man, Mike, you remember that time we got to see the Traveling Wilburys for $3 at a church, and there was a little old lady standing taking the money? Like, you can't make that up. And my dad lived a very, very, very full life with amazing stories. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. Manatee. Gabe was My dad said that Gabe Soto Antral, Manatee, as we nicknamed him, was his his Puerto Rican son. Jerry was his Mexican son. Thanks, Chris. Thank you for that. Everybody meet Chris. Chris, meet everybody. My father taught me the finer art of talking to people. People we love, like all of you, that's no problem. I can work that room. I did that when I was Annabelle's age. But strangers, you know, my dad coined the phrase for me. I had never heard the 5-minute friend, meaning like we're at some hotel and we're waiting for an elevator, and we get in the elevator and the person gets off a couple minutes later, and he made them laugh. And you could tell that person's getting on the elevator like, who the hell is that guy? He's nice. He's really funny. And I'm proud to have gotten that trait from him. I'm really, really proud to have picked that up. There's many 5-minute friends and 3-minute friends and half-hour friends and 10-minute friends, lifetime friends, and I'm very, very proud of that. He taught me the finer art of engaging people at a young age, and talk to people who are elderly and old like you would anybody else. Don't insult them. Don't insult a 5-year-old kid. Don't insult a 75-year-old woman. Talk to them. Look them in the eye. Treat them with respect. And, to open doors for people because you want to open the door. This is a woman, let's open the door. And if she doesn't say thank you, who cares? That's not why you did it. You did it because it's the right thing to do. You want to open the door. And, gosh, I love watching my dad open doors for strangers, let alone friends. And, you guys who know me well, I like to open doors. I'm a dork. I like opening doors for people. Sometimes it offends people, and that's fine, but my intentions are pure, and I will always open a door for you, Mary Dunford. Always. Open a door. Engage life and open doors. The greatest gift my mother ever gave me, one of the greatest gifts my mother ever gave me, ironically came after she passed in 2012. Bobby Gorman. When my mother passed in 2012, I gave a eulogy. I was really proud. Jamie Cooley, some of you, Sue, you probably know Jamie Cooley. Give it up for Jamie Cooley. Anybody who knew Jamie Cooley? She passed way too young, and her memorial was here in this room. And I walked up those stairs. I was next to Allison. I was next to Travis. I was next to you. I was next to Elisa, and it was just waterworks. And I was pissed. I'm still pissed about it. Like, why is Jamie, she was way too young. And they had this projector, and they had musicians playing her favorite Cure songs, her favorite band. And people started talking, and I started running in. Thomas Wilson, I think you were there. And we started running into people and just being like, and then upstairs you heard the band playing, because there was a band at the Crystal that day, and it was the sound check for whatever band it was, the drummer. And somebody made a crack about Jamie probably made out with that guy. But Jamie, my mother passed about 10 days after that, and one of the nicest gifts Jamie ever gave me was that she helped me prepare for my mother's funeral to give the eulogy. And I said, okay, I need to have live music. My mom's favorite band was the Beatles. I want to make sure that the Beatles are represented, and they were, and it was beautiful. And and my dad was there looking very, very dapper. He was a tie, and this is about almost 8 years ago. And the number one thing everyone said to me when they come up is, I'm very sorry for your loss. And of course, it's a standard thing you say at these kind of things. The number 2 thing that every single person said to me was, man, I gotta tell you, your dad looks amazing. And my dad ate it up. He was like, thank you, I do look amazing. And it was funny, and it would have drove my mom nuts to know that her ex-husband from 35 years ago was getting compliments at her funeral. That would have pissed her off, but I think she's laughing now about it. I hope she is. One of the greatest gifts my mother ever gave me, that's what I was trying to say, was that day, from then on, my mother passed, I held my father closer than he probably was more comfortable with. I held him close, man. And he probably was like, Mike, I'm fine. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm like, I know. I just want you to know I love you, and I want you to know that I'm grateful for today. And I said that to him every single day. And I was lucky, man. I had my best friend for 42 years. For 42 years. Imagine that. Like, your best friend calls you because he's not in the same state as you, or he's your roommate, or he goes, real quick, are there any Australians here? Good? Okay. He'll go with you to Australia for a BS sham marriage with a woman you met on a Weezer cruise because you talked him into it that was the right thing to do. That's my dad. He took me to hockey practice. He took me to Mighty Mighty Bosstown's concerts and said, well, if you're going to stage dive, you probably want to go off that side because there's more people congregating. He was into what I was into. I was into what he was into, whether it was our love for the Boston Red Sox and the Boston Bruins, to him being like, I want to go to Canada and hang out with Daniel Richter and Michelle Winslow and rock out to Arcade Fire. Like, hells yeah. And we went up to Vancouver and we had this unbelievable experience. You guys, where's Daniel? There he is. We had this unbelievable experience and just got to see Arcade Fire, and they're from Canada, so they kind of had a little bit more pep in their step, and they were so happy. My dad said we're driving back to Portland. It was like 2011, 2010? Yeah, and the Suburbs album. And he was just like, Mike, that was awesome. I felt like it was like the 70s with Tom Walsh and Billy Nelson. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm like, whatever, man, thank you. Like, I love you. Every day's a gift. We get back to our apartment. We were at the Harrison Towers near PSU, and you know, we're unpacking and this and that, and he's just sitting on the couch. He's like, man, that was awesome. And I'm getting changed and getting ready to go out and meet up with Allison. And he goes, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going to go see Arcade Fire tonight. They're playing at the Memorial Coliseum. And he's like, why the hell did we drive all the way to Vancouver, Canada? We could have saw them here around the corner. And I said, well, Dad, you didn't ask that. You said, what are you doing next week? I said, I'm going to Canada to see Arcade Fire. You want to come? He said, yes. And he was like, fair play. And I gotta be honest, no disrespect to that Arcade Fire show, Allison. That show was awesome. I had a blast with that night. We met up with Elisa. I know many people in that room were at that show. And that was a fun show, but it couldn't touch the one the night before in Vancouver, man. That was pretty cool. And it was because my dad was with me. There's a table right over here, right next to my cousin Tracy and Dan, next to that awesome Patriots hockey jersey that Kelsey and Justin got my dad. There's a really cool picture, you might have seen me post it, of 20-something-year-old me with my father and then Governor of Massachusetts Bill Weld and Lieutenant Governor Paul Cellucci. I think Bill Weld's a presidential candidate now. In the like he's like the Republican Bernie Sanders. Whatever. I'm not talking politics. Anyways, it was really cool. The governor of Massachusetts honored my father for 20 years of never missing a child support payment. Think about that. For 20 years, the man never missed a child support payment. And he was a cop for almost 7-8 years, over a decade in Situate. He sold cars for a couple of years, and then he was a bus driver for the city of Boston. For those not familiar with Boston terminology, MBTA is what it's called, the T. And out here we call it TriMet. So he drove the bus for 26 years for the city of Boston, and I would randomly get on his bus on the weekends or certain summer nights as a teenager and this and that, and especially as a young adult when I was on my own. And I just would be in awe of the way these people would look at my father. And he'd be like, that's my son. And this lady's like, oh, your dad's the best. Like, most bus drivers are jerks. Like, he's, wow, like, he really gives a crap. He will stop at a spot that's not a stop. He got baked goods all the time. He had thank you cards. Come Christmas time, he would always have the stuff he'd bring home. And it's a riot, man. He was so above and beyond kind to strangers, let alone his regular customers. As a kid in high school, he would come from, when I was in high school, he would come home from driving the bus, and he would see all the hip-hop advertisements, and it would be like, Wu-Tang Clan album drops Tuesday, Wu-Tang Clan album drops Tuesday, Wu-Tang Clan album drops Tuesday. So then, Dan and Marcus Sabini, different friends of mine from the neighborhood come over when I was in Milton High, and my dad's getting off. They're like, "What's up, Captain?" And he's like, "Hey, what's up? Hey, you guys got the new Wu-Tang Clan album? It drops on Tuesday. Just want to make sure you know." And people would just, Dan, you remember that? And it was just, people, especially if they didn't know him, they'd be like, "What the hell did this guy just say?" Like, what? It was really funny. Like, it was pretty funny that he would just regurgitate it. And he did the same thing here in Portland. He lived here for almost 10 years, 9 years, and he would see that marquee outside. That's why that marquee is so extra special. He would see that marquee outside, and it would say, let's say, 21 Pilots, November 3rd. And he'd be like, "Hey, Mike, you got those 21 Pilot tickets, November 3rd? So it's going fast. Gotta make sure you got it." And I'd just be like, "How the hell do you, like, what? I don't even know what 21 Pilots is." And like, but I feel like I needed tickets because my dad was telling me. It was just like the hip-hop advertising. It was pretty funny. It was pretty cool. So to have his name, on the marquee in the Crystal Ballroom on the corner of Burnside and 14th, that's class. And I want to hug the man who put those letters up last night. It was, it's pretty cool. It says Michael T. McCarthy. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, and you can see it when you walk out, the captain. Like, what? That's insane. And the best is there's like, some girl or guy last night here dancing 80s dance night last night right here, and they're probably like, "Who's Michael T. McCarthy?" He was the captain. And the fact that girl said his name out loud is proof in the pudding. Even today, Billy, Nelson, and Tracy and I, we were just in awe taking pictures of the marquee, and this lady's like, "Excuse me, what are you looking at?" And Billy, being Billy, immediately gave this woman a 5-minute tutorial over who my father was, and it's pretty cool. You did it, Dad. You're on the marquee of the Crystal Ballroom. My dad and I went to Hawaii many times, and Hawaii is, oh my God, Hawaii is unbelievable. I was married once, and we had our honeymoon at the Great Barrier Reef, and we stayed at this 5-star hotel, and oh my God, it's so fancy, and it was supposed to be a king-size bed. It was like 2 twins put together, and it was really crappy, and the hotel was nice. They had big pools, and I saw this beach, and I ran out there, and I was so excited to jump in the water. And there's nobody in the beach. And I'm like, oh my God, this place is a fancy resort. There's nobody here. And I'm about to jump, like I drop my towel in the sand, and I'm running out to the beach, about to dive in the water. Australia, and woo, and this guy, this young lifeguard is like, "Mate, you can't go in the water." And I was like, "What?" And I'm thinking, I'm not a guest. I'm like, "No, I have my room key, it's over there." And he says, No, there's a croc over there. And he points at this crocodile, and it's about 15 feet, like yay high, chest deep water. And the crocodile is just sitting there. And I was like, "What? Okay." And I'm like, I'm trying not to, my then wife, I want to keep a little spirit, don't be Debbie Downer. So, okay, we'll go to the pool, do the whole pool thing. Next day we wake up, I said, "You know what? I know there's crocs. I know for a fact there's crocs there. We're not going to go swimming in that ocean. That's fine. Go down to the pool. Be a pool guy. Have fun." And I was telling my then wife, like, "Hey, I'll meet you down. I'll get us a spot." And I go down, and I'm all excited. It's like 7:30. I kind of got up early, and I'm putting towels and getting the nice lounge chairs ready. And I'm about to run in the pool. I'm like, "Oh, man, there's nobody here. I'm going to the pool." And I'm about to jump in, and a different kid lifeguard's like, Mate, you can't go in the water." In the pool, he meant. And I go, "Why?" He's like, "There's a baby croc right there." Long story short, forget Australia. Hawaii is way better. No disrespect to the fine people of Australia. It gave me many friends and lots of wonderful times, but my dad and I loved Hawaii. And he was like, he'd say, "Make sure you tell the stupid croc story." And I'm like, "All right, Dad, I'll tell it." My dad was way better at telling stories than me, as many of you know. The water, he's a boarder. No, Australia's wonderful. Australia's wonderful. Peace and love. Peace and love. Okay. So in Hawaii, going back to Hawaii, we love Hawaii. We every time I went there 3 times with him, and 4 times. He went 5, once with his friend Joe, who you met earlier in this video. And when I went, first time I ever went was with my ex-girlfriend Joyce, and we went with my dad, and we're staying at the Westin. And the Westin in Maui, they've got everything. If they don't have it, you don't need it. They got 5 pools, water slides, and the beach of all beaches. And they have a sign that says, to all guests, please stay within the resort, meaning don't go to the Sheraton, don't go to the Four Seasons, don't go to the Marriott. My dad took that as a personal threat. And he was like, we're going to the Sheraton on Tuesday, we're going to the Marriott on Wednesday, we're going to the Four Seasons on Thursday. He was like, you can't tell me what pool I can't go in. I'm going to tip and buy a $20 hamburger, and I'll tip really good. My dad loved sneaking into other hotels and pools. I thought that was a really funny trait. So everybody, when you go to Hawaii, sneak into the pools and the hotels that you're not staying at. It's pretty awesome. This final night on Earth, there was a Bruins playoff game. Dramatic end with wonderful friends over. We had a pub-style atmosphere. Gibby was there. Justin Norton was there. Dan Lineker, where you at, Dan? You're over there. Hey, Dan. Our buddy Dave was there, and my dad just didn't want to feel like he was in a hospital room anymore. He was like, come on, man, you guys bring some beers. And I have always, like, especially the last couple months in hospice, I'm just like, you know, if I'm not at work, Lorenz Bruin, I was at work at home. And so that night for a couple hours, I let my guard down. I had a couple beers, and we're watching the game, and the Bruins won, and it was a miraculous win. And he was happy. The look on his face, I can't emphasize how happy he was. I didn't know it was going to be his last night on this earth, but I think he did. When the game was over, Justin didn't want to leave. Dan didn't want to leave. So we watched The Battered Bastards of Baseball, an amazing documentary all of you should watch on Netflix if you get a chance, if you ever watched it. All about the Portland Buckaroos and the baseball team around the corner. And when that documentary was over 90 minutes later, we put on Peaky Blinders, and he didn't want to go to bed. He knew he was going to die. He knew he was going to leave us, and he didn't tell me, but I didn't know. And it was a really beautiful, special night, and anybody that knew my dad knew that he was happy, and he left very peaceful, and he got to say goodbye to everybody the way he wanted to. And we surrounded, Reverend Joe was there, Stephanie was there, Elisa was there, Justin Norton was there, Leanna was there, Debbie was there, Abra was there. We held my dad's hand, and we said goodbye to him, and we put Billy Nelson on the phone, and we put Tommy Walsh on the phone, and Joe Hurley, and the Condons, and it was beautiful. It was, I can't emphasize enough. As far as, if you've ever met somebody who planned their own death more meticulously than my father, God bless them, because that man, he crushed it in the end. My dad taught me how to treat people, how to share, and how to love. Life is about love and making sure the people you love know that you love them. And that's, if I could give one bit of advice to everybody right now, is if there's anybody, a sister, a brother, an ex, a this or that, yeah, we're pissed and yeah, we're resentful. Time does heal a lot, not all. But if there's anybody that you need to call and you need to email and you need to text and to say, hey, I just want to let you know I love you. And they're kind of like, okay, trust me, they'll appreciate it. And he taught me that. He taught me the fine art of letting people know you love them, know that you love them, that they are loved. And I think that's pretty cool. Billy Crystal, the famous comedian, wrote a book called 700 Sundays. It's a reference to how many actual Sundays he had with his father. His father died when he was young, and he had X amount of Sundays. And the book's called 700 Sundays, and he talks in detail about living in New York and how his dad did this, and they went to the beach. And it's a really, really, really cool book if anybody gets a chance to read it. 700 Sundays, Billy Crystal. I had 2,149 Sundays with my father. And I can honestly say I've spent about 80% of those Sundays with him, and the ones we didn't, because we lived in a different state, we laughed on the phone and updated each other about what we each did that day. And I can't say how lucky enough I was to have every single one of those days. Coming to the end. I got to spend 42 years with my best friend, my father, our beloved captain, Evelyn and Michael's son, Donna and Betty's brother, Uncle Mike to 8 nieces and nephew, a friend to countless. I am truly the luckiest man to be able to stand here before you all and celebrate this amazing unicorn of a man, this intelligent, kind, caring human being. Be very clear, I want to be very clear, this is not political. This is not political. This is about love. The terrible tragedy that we just had, the most recent one, well, hopefully we don't have another one soon, but the way life is. The most terrible tragedy in that Colorado school, my dad would have been so proud of that man. What's that man's name, the young man?
Kendrick is his first name, his last name was...
Kendrick, is that right?
Yeah.
Just those of you know that he stopped many of his classmates from dying by being a hero, and I mean, it's just... my dad would have been so proud of that young man, and heroes made my dad proud. And I'd like to end this last part of my spoken eulogy before we start this movie. And then after that movie, guys, please have some more drinks, eat some cheese and crackers. Make sure everybody meets Annabelle Ackerman, one of my close friends over here. She's say hi, Annabelle. Everybody say hi to Annabelle. Hi, Annabelle.
Hi, Annabelle.
He wants us to be a party. And again, if I've been bumming you out, I apologize. I'd like to end my father's eulogy with a quote from Aaron Sorkin by way of Jebediah Bartlett. Anybody can put that together. The streets of heaven are too crowded with angels tonight. There are students, our teachers, our parents, and our friends. The streets of heaven are too crowded with angels. But every time we think we have measured our capacity to meet a challenge, we look up and we're reminded by the capacity may well be limitless. This is a time for American heroes. We will do what is hard. We will achieve what is great. This is a time for American heroes, and we will reach for the stars. God bless their memory. God bless each one of you, and God bless the United States of America. God bless the world. God bless my father, Michael Thomas McCarthy. Thank you very, very much.
My arm just really hurts.
I might have ran out of storage.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's okay.
We were
I
supposed
was
to.
like, yeah, I think we did a good job.
I just want to do the rest of it.
Okay. Oh, this.
We're going to talk about electric boat lifts, the tubes, and the grader.
This is a song called "If We Ever Leave This World Alive." And ain't that just right?